Okay, so enough of that out of the way. Now let's move on to see some technology. First thing I want to do is introduce Insights for ArcGIS. This is a brand new application at 10.5. This is a web application, so you don't need any special software other than a browser and a login to it. It is not designed to be only used by GIS professionals. This is to be used by anybody in your office. Think about anybody that has a spreadsheet in your office that is constantly analyzing the data in the spreadsheet. They're a user for Insights. Okay? It's really easy to use. It's drag and drop. It's intuitive. You don't need to take a 3-day class or read a big book or manual. And what it's really designed for is, there's a position out there, a professional thing called the data scientist. And some of the things that they do are not normally what GIS analysts do. And I want to talk about that real quickly, and that's data exploration. So normally GIS analysts wait for somebody to walk in or ask them for a project. Again, Adam, can you find where we build the next fire station? Sure, I can do some analysis on that, some drive times, find the best place to put it. But a lot of times we wait for somebody to give us a problem. We don't just find data and say, I'm going to just be curious about this data and analyze it and see what I can gain from it, right? But that's something that data scientists do, and that's called proactive data exploration. And so that's different. That's another thing we need to think about differently as GIS analysts is, if you're a city or a county and you have a 311 system where people are complaining about things, you probably have 311 data, right? How many people have 311 data out there? Are any of you analyzing it? Keep your hand up if you are. You guys are. Great, okay?
Are you guys in the same organization?
Yeah. Okay, right. Well, kudos to you.
Yeah, you know what? How about, here you go. WebGIS book. You'll have to share it, though.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring.
You can come get it afterwards. You don't have to do it now if you, But anyway, so again, I talked to the chief data officer for Los Angeles, Lillian Coral, at our user conference, and she had this great notion. She says, we need to put data to work. We need to make it earn its keep. And again, let's spend as much time and effort analyzing it as we do managing it. And that's what Insights is designed to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you this proactive data exploration with some 311 data, real 311 data from Kansas City, Missouri. We've got no problem that someone's walked up and asked us to do. We're just going to dive into the data and see what falls out.
Exactly. And let's begin. So what you're looking at now is Insights. Just to be clear with you guys, this requires ArcGIS Enterprise 10.5, your portal for ArcGIS up and running, and you need to give people permission to use this app. So it is just a web browser. You can see that through the URL. And Insights works in this idea of a workbook. So I have a workbook here called 311 calls. So when I open this workbook, the first thing I'm presented with is to add some data. Now, as Adam said, Excel spreadsheets are very common. I've heard many quotes about it's the most common way to store data. It's just all around. Now, I downloaded these 311 calls from Kansas City, Missouri's Open Data website, and we're just going to bring them in. So within Insights, in that workbook, we have pages. So I have a page here called Public Works Trash. Now, on the left-hand side are all the fields that were part of that Excel spreadsheet. And all I have to do is drag one of them, for example, the categories of the phone calls, and drag them onto my map. Now, remember, 311 calls are when citizens call the city and say, hey, we have some issues. In this case, we can see that there are 23,000 issues in that year, with trash being the largest number and snow and ice being the second largest. So what I want to do is just data exploration and analysis. I want to start looking at this trash data. So I'm going to add a filter to the category and only show trash. So everything from this point on will only be dealt with trash. Now, the category is trash, but there are types of calls. So when I drag and drop that onto my card, you'll see that I've broken it up. So of all those calls, about 3,000 were for animals and then right-of-ways and bulky items. Now, looking at this information in a tabular format is good. I'm a visual person and I like donuts, so I use donut charts a lot. So what we can see now is the proportion of each one of those numbers to each other with right-of-ways and animals. So there is a spatial location for every phone call that was made. There are XY coordinates. So by clicking on the 3 dots, I can enable location. Now there are 3 different location types that are currently available in Insights for ArcGIS. There's coordinates, address, and geography. Geography is extremely important here. If you have a custom polygon boundary like council districts or water districts, any boundaries like that, you can bring that in and begin to aggregate data up to your own custom boundaries. But for today, we'll just use the coordinate locations and I'll go ahead and run that. So what it's given me is a brand new field called coordinates, and I drag and drop that onto my card, and I'll create a map. Now again, all these points are the 7,000 plus that we see in trash. I want to pair these two cards together, and I want to use symbology to help do that. So I'm going to symbolize my data on the type. And you'll notice that the same colors were automatically picked. I found that this is really important because I don't have to spend time trying to pick and choose colors now. I can just easily symbolize it on the same field. It's also interactive. So watch what happens when I click animals. The map card shows only the points that deal with animals. Here's the ones that deal with right-of-ways. So this is pretty cool. We can see the overall number of calls. But if any of you have worked in a work order management system, you know that the length of a work order being open is really important. You don't want them sitting in your queue for too long. So let's symbolize this data a little differently. So instead of type, let's use days to close. So now what we're looking at is the larger the circle, the longer it took for this this call to close. So in this case, what that little black box is showing you is the coordinates, that it took 2 days to close, and that the range of all 7,000 work orders are between 2 and 237 days to close. Now you don't have to remember any of these numbers because what Insights does on the back of each of these cards is it shows you those statistics, and it also allows you to enter in any comments so you can remember why you made this particular card. So one of the other things we can do is just visual spatial analysis. Watch what happens when I click on animals. You can see that the majority of the calls are small circles. They close, right? Because I mean, if there is unfortunately an animal on the side of the road, you want to remove that as fast as possible. But look what happens when I click right away. Now this is all real data we downloaded from their open data site. Right-of-ways are taking a lot longer to close than the other call types. So I'm curious now to see if the month of the year has an impact on call volume. So one thing that's great about Insights is it automatically takes a date field and separates it out into the different components of day of the week, month, quarter, and year. So if I just grab the month field and pull it onto the chart, I don't prefer the bar chart that look like that. I prefer the column charts. Here we can see now the different calls every month. The mean was 603 calls per month. We can see in July that there's 816, that was the most. And in February, it was the least with 373 calls. So there's definitely a pattern going on with calls. Now, I'm not from Kansas City. I'm going to guess maybe there's a lot of snow that happens during this time period, or maybe there was people on vacation. I'm not sure, but there's definitely lower number of calls during those winter months than the summer months. So I want to then ask my map a question. So when I click on the map, there's this action button. That action button provides me a new dialog box that shows you all my spatial analysis tools that are available, as well as find answers. Like literally, I'm going to ask a map a question. Like, how has it changed?
Now those questions tie directly to the ones on the poster.
Yes.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. See, it's a platform. It
right.
works together like that. You know. So how has this map changed over time? And what I want to look at is days to close. How has it changed over time in regards to days to close? And I'm going to be presented with a new chart. So what this chart is showing me is that in the April timeframe, it took on average 3.9 days to close a call. But you can see in April, there was not a higher number of calls. It was pretty much average. So I'm not sure why that's happening. Also, if I come here to the January timeframe, again, it was taking just over 3 days to close, but that was one of the months with the least number of calls. So I don't know what's going on here, and that's okay. This is the process of data exploration and analysis. Let's just start looking at the data and finding these patterns. One of the other things that I know a lot of cities are concerned about is equitable service. So is every council district being served the same? And we can do that type of analysis in here. So since Insights is connected to the rest of my organization, when I go to the Add Data dialog, I can see my content for the organization, anybody's that's shared with me. So I'm just going to select the council districts and add them directly here to my page. I'm going to style them based upon the district just to make it a little easier to see. So there are the 5 council districts right here. So by simply grabbing, move this card first. So by simply grabbing the council districts and dragging it onto my map, I can perform spatial aggregation. And I'll hit run. So I'm aggregating every one of those points up to the council district boundaries. So instead of looking at graduated symbols, I'll change my symbol type to counts and amounts. And now what we can see are the districts with the most number of calls being darker. So District 3, which has 39 calls in that month, and then District 5 had 28 in that month. So I can do the same type of analysis on this chart. So if I group this data by council district, now this chart is beginning to tell me in council district 5, it took on average 9.3 days to close a call. Why? Why is council district 5 so high? And then when you look at something like council district 1, it took 7.4 days. Well, council district 1 has a lower number, you can tell by the color, has a lower number of calls than the other ones. So why is that happening? I don't know, but that's okay. So through this entire analysis, Insights has been doing something special. It's been keeping track of every single card and tool that I've used. So here you can see I started with my 311 calls, added filters, and so forth. And the reason this becomes very important is when you begin to share and collaborate within the organization, knowing your workflows is really valuable. So we can take this and then we can share this entire page out to anyone we want in the organization. So I'll say through calls, look at council districts. I can decide to only share this with public works managers and then share this. So through this process of sharing, a new web page is going to be created. So this is my page right here. And remember, Adam, you were talking earlier about story maps are a great way to share. So this is just a website. It's a URL. You can embed this page inside of a story map to help tell the story as to what's going on in these locations. And these are all dynamic, interactive. I can click and pan and zoom on any one of these maps. So that was just a bit of a crash course into what Insights is. And now I want to tell you just a quick story. When I was first helping with this demonstration for the seminar, I didn't want it in here. I told them I'm not answering a question. How did I just help you guys with 311 calls? And I had to go through a learning process of data exploration analysis, which is a real idea. Go look at Wikipedia. That it's okay to do this and not come up with an answer. It is. It took me a while to figure that out, though.
You raised questions, is what you did.
That's it. I created more work for myself, is what I did.
Well, or for public works. I mean, if I'm the public works manager and I've got an issue in District 1 where they're taking too long to close calls, I need to know about it, especially before the council member for District 1 calls me, right? So the fact that, you know, if you've got a data analyst inside Public Works, you can provide them with this tool and connect them with their data, and then off they go. And then they can bring this up to a manager, send them this interactive website, and maybe even send the council member this website as well to work on it and try to become better, right? So none of this, we wouldn't have known any of this if we had these issues had we not done this data exploration, right?
Yep.
So it's pretty key. So again, proactive data exploration to help unlock value in your data. Again, we've got that data sitting out there. We're spending a lot of money and time managing it. Let's analyze it. We can do that easily with Insights. It's data analysis and exploration. So the other cool thing, I don't know if you realized it, but that was a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet never changed. We didn't convert it. We didn't do anything to it. All we did was analyze it inside of Insights. It's still sitting there in the folder. The cool thing is if that spreadsheet gets updated with new data and this name stays the same and it doesn't move, next time you open up Insights, you can run an update and it'll all update everything as well, even the interactive website that the end user is using. Okay, very powerful application. I think it's going to have a lot of use in a lot of different organizations. But we need to hold questions still afterwards if you could. So look to stand up Insights. Again, it's 10.5 Enterprise. You need your portal and then your Insights users.